Evil is heinous. It will shoot up a school, and as a result, government is forced to remove guns from the people. This is a fascist style of government. When people give up their rights to protect themselves, we turn into Nazi Germany. When guns were away from the Jewish culture, they were put in concentration camps and murdered by the masses. That is evil at work. That was from Apparitions of a Warrior by Joseph Evaldi. This is Vehicle of Discontent, woven into words. This is, or the expression. This is the Slow-Mo Joe Poetry Show. I'm your host, Slow-Mo Joe.
And I'm Twilight Cricket.
I started the podcast with those words because we're going to be discussing a few topics. That is the 1930s, Great Depression, a struggle through some man's life, and what are you going to be discussing? Instead of talking about it, we got a poem about it.
Dig it, Daddy. Lay it on us.
And we're going to start with this poem. It is by Margaret Rodkey, and it is called Depression of the 1930s. It goes something like this. The Depression of the 1930s was the time of my childhood days. There were a lot of worries and hardships. In many ways, whatever time people could spare, they would help each other out. Bad times also came when there was a drought. The Depression of the 1930s. Our parents would help make quilts of all kinds. They would work long hours, day and night. There was a lot on their minds. Fathers would work on the WPA just to make ends meet. Breaking stones was very hard work. Some of them fell to their feet. The Depression of the 1930s. There were problems about work, severe winters, and war. People never knew from day to day what may be in store. There were children of all ages, sick with an illness. Some of them passed away with the long nights of stillness. The Depression of the 1930s made it bad for all ages. Work was scarce. There was pay of low wages. During the Depression, we all learned how to survive. A lot of people shared the hardships by showing love and being alive. The Depression of the 1930s will be in my heart for the rest of my life. I, Margaret L. Hockenberry, now Margaret I. Rodkey, lived in those hard times, hardships of struggle and strife. My parents were loving and caring in every way. They taught me to respect people and show them we care.
Yeah, dig it. Yeah, that one was pretty cool. I mean, I definitely got the sense of the agony, trial of that time period. Matches up stuff I read. Ain't so bad. Who was that again?
Margaret Rodkey.
Margaret Rodkey. Alright.
I was
Dig it.
when I chose this, I was thinking of hard times. I was thinking of the 1920s, and I was thinking of a little of what I started this podcast with. That you had one thing going on one end, and you had another thing going on the other.
Dig it.
And it meets in the middle.
So my legend that I'm reading today is a piece of William Blake from The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. The argument. Rintra roars and shakes his fires in the burdened air. Hungry clouds swag on the deep. Once meek and in perilous path, the just man kept his course along the vale of death. Roses are planted where thorns grow, and on the barren heath sing the honeybees. Then the perilous path was planted, a river and a spring on every cliff and a tomb. And on the bleached bones red clay brought forth, till the villain left the path of ease, to walk in perilous paths and drive the just man into barren climes. Now the sneaking serpent walks in mild humility, and the just man rages in the wilds, where lions roam. Rintra roars and shakes his fires in the burning air. Hungry clouds swag on the deep. As a new heaven is begun, and it is now 33 years since its advent, the eternal hell revives. And lo, Swedenborg is the angel sitting at the tomb. His writings are the linen clothes folded up. Now is the dominion of Edom, and the return of Adam into paradise. See Isaiah. Without contraries is no progression. Attraction and repulsion, reason and energy, love and hate are necessary to human existence. From these contraries spring what the religions call good and evil. Good is the passive that obeys reason. Evil is the active, springing from energy. Good is heaven. Evil is hell. And that was the beginning of The Marriage of Heaven and Hell by William Blake. Maybe we'll dip into it a little further. Now that's Blake, man. I mean, you can't deny that. I mean, William Blake's just phenomenal. And that's, I know, that's my favorite piece of The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, which is probably my favorite thing that he did. Out of all the pretty things that he did. Dig it. So, what's the story? What comes next?
Next is a short part.
Right on. So this is the Slow Mo Joe Poetry Show on the Joseph Evaldi Network. I am Twilight Cricket, minister of the higher nature, and emissary from the Olkusz Network. And I'm here to tell you about the poetic works of Richard Andrew Olkusz. He's got his book that we'll be reading from on this episode, The Muses, Signs and Wonders. Check it out on Amazon Kindle.
I'm Slow Mo Joe, and I'm an adversary of the Joseph Evaldi Network. I had an honor to do some podcasts with the Joseph Evaldi podcast, and I am happy to plug his podcast and also plug Apparitions of a Warrior by Joseph Evaldi. As I was mentioning, Slow Mo Joe Poetry Show is sponsored by Apparitions of a Warrior and writings of Joseph Evaldi.
Right on, dig it.
Now we come to the second half of the podcast, where Slow Mo Joe and Twilight Cricket read poems from Joseph Evaldi and Richard Andrew Olkusz. This poem from Joseph Evaldi's Apparitions of a Warrior called Prayer of Survival. Joseph writes, crawling out of a crazy place and praying to survive, we are only brought back from fear of life. What a horrible place. No passion, no excitement, just nothing but a dead feeling. How does any man escape the same people and the same pain? There is no creativity and the need for joy. He gets mistaken for revenge. He wants to get out. Look up above. Human greed will bring him back, and the man falls.
Dig it.
Writing by Joseph Evaldi.
Not bad, man, not bad. So we have from the Muses, Signs and Wonders by Richard Olkusz, The Hive Mind's Eternal Reincarnation. From the second part of the book entitled The Habitat of the Ape View and its Mechanical Fallacy. Bathed in false security, poured over by your self-biased scrutiny, like communist tyranny, I am forced into a passive state of blind serenity. As this pig gets up and professes his own divinity, he is my target, my most brutal adversary. Laser-guided jokes placed to undermine our civility. Gold and green feed the machine, keep it satisfactory, but I've been bleeding from the neck for my whole maturity, forsaken by the authority. When we examine the odds of our victory, we must consider mutiny. Dissolve the hate-based hierarchy. Destroy all that stands in our way. Machine gun rips into the night air all around me. The city is alive with the screams of the wounded. Light of death emanates from my eyes. I will not be dropped. I am not fodder.